you made it back.
Did you really think this would work?
Please, we want to help you. Don't do anything hasty.
Destroying you is as easy as flicking a pest.
No!
Stand up!
Kirak!
How boring and small. You want the Atlas? Take it. It's yours. But Oriath, I will burn to the ground. Perhaps the suffering of my fellow citizens will finally stir something.
Can I not have but a moment's respite?
What's this? A real challenge. You finally caught my attention. The others found strength in their projection. They became reliant on it. Might really interesting enough to warrant all this trouble.
Can I not have but a moment's respite?
Like the DPS. Looks good, eh? Okay, so I'm gonna briefly run through the changes I made for this build. They were quite minor. Oh, well, actually, no, fuck, they're not quite minor, they're quite massive. This is still an Archmage build, this is still Archmage Cremation. The differences right now is that we're adding on a different scaling method to our damage, and as well as a different form of damage mitigation to our character. So right now, what you see right here is, okay, this is a little weird. Let me just pull loop first because I don't want to lose it due to a TC. But as you can see here, I'm using incandescent heart. My mana is not 9k anymore, it's 6, which is unfortunate, but I can probably optimize this further, hopefully. Actually, probably not. Probably won't be able to optimize it further because there's so many pieces that are uniques, right? And these uniques don't have mana stat on them. So yeah. How does this build work? I'm using a Nebulis, Replica Nebulis, which gives me increased cold and fire damage per 1% missing resistance. I'm stacking 2 Malachi's Artifice, which basically drops my resistance and boosts my lightning res. So if you look at my defense stat, I have a minus 163 fire res and a minus 163 core res, because I'm also stacking these. Right? I'm stacking a Thread of Hope, Thread of Hope, and Thread of Hope. They're not used to path to anything, they're just there to minus your resistances. It's minus 20 here, it's minus 20 here, and it's minus 20 here, right? So this build is actually a build I was thinking of working on early. I didn't really know how to come to, or rather make a build concept that could do maps as well as bosses like Sirius, because honestly this is most commonly played by Delvers. Like they don't care about their resistances because they don't care about getting, like, their play style is about not getting hit. If they do get hit, they die, but that's how they play. In this case, you do want to survive and you do want to be able to take hits because you're gonna map and you're gonna do bossing, and you know how that is if you can't take hits, right? You're just gonna melt instantly and you're gonna waste portals. Yeah. So basically, how this works is that I'm still getting quite a big amount of mana. I'm not reserving it. What I've done is I have linked cremation to two different supports. I have completely dropped pinpoint and intensity from this because it is too much to support. Like, it will cost too much to support these many links. So I have dropped these two. I've dropped those two support gems. I've also dropped intensity and anointed a different anoint. I have anointed Method of the Madness, which gives me a extra 1% maximum chaos res, so that's 76. So yeah, the damage, the links are not now concentrated effect, Archmage support, the anomalous version, because this gives you cold damage, flat cold, as opposed to flatlining, right? There is some flatlining. It's not full cold, unfortunately, but you want the cold because you're using the cold to scale off with this, right? So you have cold here from your anomalous Archmage, and then you have a anomalous Code of Fire support, which converts 60% of that to fire, which allows you to get the bonus from the fire damage boost as well from here. So you get the percentage cold damage increase from every 1% missing res multiplied by 5, and then you get the same amount, the 60% of that multiplied by the same mechanic, right, of 5% per missing 1 fire res. And then you have a GMP, which is needed because you're not using Sire of Shards. You don't really know, you can't really double your projectiles, so you have to use GMP or Awakened GMP. You have Phantasmal Cremation for the reason that the 40% to explode a nearby corpse when firing projectiles actually works with Desecrate. I'm spamming Spell Echo. These explosions do damage, and I think they scale off Archmage. I'm not too sure, but yeah. And then you have a Awaken Unleashed port because you want to drop all 4 of your cremations together at one go, which allow you to boss a lot better. Yeah, it's also pretty good for mapping. Yeah. So this is the 6-link setup. The rest of it are support gems. The only thing you kind of have to pay attention to as well is you need a Shackles the Retro Chain Gloves. Ideally, I want this with +2 socketed Curse Gems and +2 socketed AoE or duration, because then it will give me +4 curses. Why do I want +4 curses? Because whatever gems, curse gems I've socketed here, I will apply. I will apply to myself. So I've got flammability and I have elemental weakness, which if you were to see the self application, it would actually drop my res to like -250%, right? So my res would actually for fire will go to minus 250%. For my for what is it called, for alleywayiness, it will drop it to like 200%. And what this does is it boosts your damage even more, right? So I've linked it to a Hex Touch support, Awaken Hex Touch, which allows me to apply both of them at once, as well as a Stormbrand, which I mean, I could put something else, but I do like Stormbrand here. I think Stormbrand's a lot easier to apply to packs, or rather apply the curse to packs. So yeah. Yeah, so this is how I drop my res to like even lower values, like 200% and 230%, and ramp up my damage even more. I've actually swapped out of Hierophant. I've gone Inquisitor. Unfortunately, I still don't have a Clarity Watcher's Eye because they're still not cheap. Strange as it sounds, it's like 7 exalts and above. Secondly, I don't really have the slots for extra Watcher's Eye Jewel. I might drop it here, but then I'll lose Chaos Res. Actually, I might just drop it here, but I'll see where I can like fill up the Chaos Res somewhere else. That will probably be my next big ticket item, because right now, without a Cloak of Defiance and without a Watcher's Eye and the Hierophant, I'm actually at 30% MOM only, which isn't very much. I would rather it be at like 38 minimum. That's the highest I can get to, because I'm not gonna use the Hierophant for the Ascendancy, like the Hierophant node for the Ascendancy. So yeah, I think 38% is what I'll be gunning for. Why have I gone Inquisitor? 2 reasons. I have a lot of faith right now, so I can Consecrated Ground on demand, which allows me to be immune to elemental ailments, as well as to actually just immune elemental ailments. But the reason why you want immunity to elemental ailments is because you have like non-existent fire res and you have non-existent core res. Not likely that you'll be frozen, right? But it is very likely that you will get like you get burning, right? And the problem if burning affects you is that it takes your fire res, and you pretty much just melt instantly. So for that reason, I have this to stop myself from getting burnt, and then not allow me to die due to burning damage. So then you're gonna ask like, okay, now you know the DPS mechanic of this, like how I'm ramping up damage, how am I actually able to survive, right? So you just saw me fight Sirius, and I did it deathless on this build with minus 563 res on fire and cold. How did I manage to kill him and not die? Well, 2 reasons. I have a Dorianis, or no, sorry, not Dorianis, Zibaqua, the Glorious Vanity Jewel, that gives me a Divine Flesh keystone. With the Divine Flesh keystone, it says that I have 50% of my elemental damage taken as chaos damage. So whatever elemental damage I take incoming it's not going to get calculated with my fire or core res, it's going to be calculated with my chaos res. My chaos res looks like 3 right now, just because I haven't flasked. When I flask, it's at 81. Right? Because I have a belt that gives me 50% chaos res. There's no other way of getting cheap chaos res, unfortunately, without dropping any uniques. But yeah, I get 50% chaos res from this enchant, and then I get like 30% from this, right? So yeah, I hit max chaos res. This one gives me max 5 as well. So instead of just 76 with the with this notable, the Method of Madness is now 81. So it's quite high. And then what else do I have? So basically 50% of it is converted from elemental to chaos. I have Incandescent Heart, which does the same exact thing. 25% of elemental damage from hits is taken as chaos damage. So that's 75% total elemental damage that I'm taking as chaos. But then you're gonna ask, well, how about the last remaining 25% damage? Right, so that thing is a bit upsetting to me, because technically I want to run 2 Nebulises. I don't want to just run 1. I have actually a second one in my stash, and I've actually tried to make it work by having 2 of them. But you're just way too squishy, because that 25% is gonna go, is gonna like get ramped up because you don't have any fire or chorus at all, and you're gonna die instantly, right? So even if it's 25%, it's suicidal. So you have to still mitigate it, and you still have to convert it elsewhere. So in this case, I've converted using the Fawn of Thunder, 40% cold, 40% fire, which is rather the 25% remaining. I don't know how it's calculated. It might be 40%, might be 20, I don't know. But it's been converted to lightning. It's being taken as lightning. So therefore, it uses your lightning res to calculate it. My lightning res is at 75, and with the with the elemental weakness, it drops to I think 76 or 80, something around there. So it's still you're still like at cap res, you're still fine. And then although the Fawn of Thunder does say you have 15% chance to be shocked, I do have this, which removes shock and use. I also have the Inquisitor, which also makes me immune to elemental ailments. Right, so I've covered that angle, and it's pretty okay. It's not too bad. So you still want a Crown of Inward Eye because Transfiguration of Soul, Body, and Mind is great when you're stacking that much percentage life and percentage mana on your tree. So this is always going to be best slot. This is still great because it gives you such a huge source of mana and mana regen, as well as Iron Gems with 25% reduced attribute requirements, which helps you to put on a lot of your gear. Alright. For your boots, you still want to go Mayokan because you want to still have your 60, now it's 64 because of the shield, but 64 plus the plus that will be a 74 and 60% dodge, right? There's a layer of defense that will help you a lot, along with the elite convert to chaos, as well as the chaos max chaos of 81%. So with all these things simultaneously, you're able to stay reasonably tanky. I've died for experimenting this build. I tried to do Katarina, and I think I fucked up a couple of times, and I died once or twice. But yeah, I think this build is pretty okay. I haven't died in heist though. Yeah, no, I have not died in heist. But maps, Katarina, I can't say it's deathless, but serious, you can definitely do this deathless. Right. So the damage on this is quite massive now. It's I would say it's as high as when I used the Indigon Archmage last league, but it's a lot less clunky because you don't have to wait 4 seconds to cast a spell. It's a lot easier for mapping. It's a lot easier for heist. I'm using this for heist, and it's actually quite fast. Now that's pretty much it. This is the build. I might think about tweaking and making more improvements, but so far this is what I've taken it to. As you notice, I am still the same wanker that decides. I mean, I don't like rares. I only have one rare, and it's a belt. The rest of them are uniques. So yeah, it's not gonna be difficult to replicate the build. Incandescent Heart is a 80 chaos chest armor, even with 6 links. So this is like 1 exalt. The only thing that's truly expensive here is probably on Replica Nebulis. And Replica Nebulis is probably gonna set you back by about 8 exalts, 5-6 exalts. I don't know. It is dropping in price, so you should be able to get one relatively cheap. And then you have the Mayokan as well. Still gonna be expensive, but I think it has kind of dropped as well, so it should be fine. Other than that, yeah. Oh yeah, and of course Bottle Faith. But that is a very big stretch goal for you if you, yeah, if you're gunning for one. All right. But back to the passive 3, not much has changed. I've just replaced a lot of the jewels with the Thread of Hope jewels. I've added more jewel slots here just to stuff in more Thread of Hope, so 1 to 3, 1 to 3. I've dropped off some of the notables here, especially those that gave resistances because I want to drop my resistances as low as possible. I've added these because I want chaos resistance along with extra life. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the Scion wheel has stayed the same. I've actually dropped the resistance line and went down the projectile damage line, which is here, because I don't want more resistances. But other than that, like, everything is pretty much the same. Yeah, the tree is pretty much the same. You don't have to do much. You might have to tweak things here and there, like remove some nodes and add some nodes, but all in all, this is like, it won't cost you that much to do a swap or change over to this build. Alright, hey, all the best. I hope to see you around. I am going to upload this to YouTube again and put it on my forums or forum thread. And then if you've got any questions, do let me know. And peace. Wait, let me just ID this for. Ah, screw it. I'm too lazy. I'm gonna probably do it tomorrow. Alright, see you guys. Have a good evening or morning, wherever you are. And like.